Ladies and gentlemen, every great story you've ever heard, every legend that's ever been written, every name that history remembers was built on risk. Without risk, there is no growth, no glory, no story worth telling. The ones who change the world are not the ones who played it safe. They're the ones who dared to step into the unknown, who looked fear in the eye and said, "I'm going anyway." Because if you want a life that means something, if you want your name to echo after you're gone, remember this truth: no risk, no story. You awaken something powerful within you, something that only comes alive when you dare to step into the unknown. And that, above all, is the story worth living, because every act of courage, every moment you choose to take a risk, strengthens the foundation of who you are becoming. Risk does not just build success, it builds character. It molds your spirit into something unbreakable, something resilient. Each time you move beyond fear, you forge another link in the chain of your strength. You see, risk is not chaos, it is creation. It is the birthplace of every great idea and every meaningful change. The world around you was shaped by men and women who took risks others avoided. The buildings you walk past, the technology you use, the freedoms you enjoy, all of it exists because someone somewhere said, "I will try." They were not guaranteed success, and many failed along the way, but they understood something vital. Failure is never final unless you stop trying. Risk is not about avoiding failure, it's about understanding that failure is part of the journey towards something greater. When you live with that mindset, your relationship with fear changes. You stop seeing it as an enemy and start recognizing it as a guide. Fear points you toward the areas of growth. The things that frighten you most often mark the boundaries of your potential. Beyond that fear lies expansion. Beyond that hesitation lies freedom. Risk is the bridge that takes you there. You may stumble while crossing it, but every stumble moves you forward, closer to mastery. There will be days when risk feels unbearable, when the uncertainty seems too heavy and the path too steep. In those moments, you must remember that the pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret is eternal. The moments you turn away from risk may seem easier at first, but they come back to haunt you later in silence. Regret is the ghost of chances not taken, and it lingers far longer than the fear of failure ever could. It is a strange thing about life. The more you cling to security, the less of it you actually have. The man who refuses to risk anything eventually loses the ability to create, to dream, to believe. Life is movement, and risk is motion. Without it, the spirit stagnates. The most dangerous comfort is the one that disguises itself as peace. True peace comes not from the absence of challenge, but from the confidence that you can face whatever comes. Every risk begins with a single decision, a moment when you choose between staying where you are or stepping into possibility. That single choice can redefine your entire story. The decision to act, even when you're unsure, becomes a seed of transformation. And that seed, once planted, begins to grow roots deep within you. It grows into self-belief, resilience, wisdom, and power. It becomes the foundation upon which you build the rest of your life. Think of the lives that have inspired you most. Not one of them was built on safety. Every great journey began with uncertainty. Every great victory was born from adversity. The pioneers who crossed oceans, the thinkers who challenged tradition, the dreamers who built empires, all of them knew risk intimately. They were not reckless, they were willing. They understood that comfort is a cage disguised as paradise, and that to truly live, one must be willing to walk through fear's door. And yes, risk comes with loss. You will fail, you will fall, you will face nights of doubt so deep that you question why you ever started, but those moments do not break you, they refine you. The fire of risk burns away the unnecessary, leaving only what is strong and true. Every loss teaches you something essential about who you are and what you value. Every setback reveals the difference between what is temporary and what is timeless. You will learn that you are capable of far more than you ever imagined. When you take risks, life stops being something that happens to you. It becomes something you shape. You begin to see yourself as the author of your own story, not a character trapped in someone else's script. You stop waiting for permission to act. You stop asking if it's the right time. You simply decide, and in that decision lies your freedom. There is a certain beauty in risk that the cautious will never know. It's the beauty of waking up every day with purpose, the excitement of not knowing exactly how it will all unfold, but trusting that you are moving towards something meaningful. It's the thrill of standing at the edge of uncertainty and realizing that fear and opportunity are often the same thing, just seen from different angles. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or intelligence. They fail because they refuse to take the risk required to discover what they're made of. They hold back, waiting for the moment they feel ready, but that moment never arrives. Readiness is not something you find, it's something you create by stepping forward. The courage to act comes before the confidence to succeed. Risk is the furnace where confidence is forged. The stories worth telling are those where the odds were against you, where the road was unclear, where you had to build your own bridge while crossing it. Those stories carry power because they show what happens when faith outweighs fear. They remind the world that courage still exists, that people still rise, still dream, still risk it all for something greater. And every time you take a risk, you add another page to that book of human possibility. You cannot inspire anyone by playing small. Playing safe never changed the world. The fire of greatness only ignites when you dare to stand where others hesitate. Every risk you take becomes a silent declaration that you believe in more, that you are not content to merely survive when you were made to thrive. And in that belief, others find courage to rise as well. Even when risk brings failure, there is victory in the act itself. Because while others were waiting, you were moving. While others were doubting, you were learning. While others were wishing, you were becoming. The true reward of risk is not always the outcome. It's the transformation that takes place within. You become stronger, wiser, more grounded, and more alive. Each act of risk plants a seed for future success. You may not see its growth immediately, but it is there, taking root beneath the surface. Life has a way of rewarding boldness in unexpected ways. Doors you never knew existed begin to open. People you never imagined meeting cross your path. Opportunities you once thought impossible begin to appear, but none of it happens until you take that first daring step. It's easy to look at someone who has achieved greatness and forget the risks that got them there. You see the result, but not the nights of doubt, the moments of fear, the sacrifices made in silence. Every success story is built on invisible courage, the willingness to do what most would avoid. And the truth is, you have that same courage within you. It's not something you need to find, it's something you need to unleash. You don't need certainty, you don't need perfect timing, you don't need approval, you need movement. You need to start where you are with what you have and trust that the path will reveal itself as you go. Every great life is a work in progress, painted one bold stroke at a time by those who refused to let fear hold the brush. There will be moments when you feel like giving up, when the risk feels too costly, when progress seems too slow. But remember, growth takes time. Seeds don't bloom overnight, and neither do dreams. The process is part of the reward. It teaches patience, endurance, and humility. It teaches you to trust not just in the outcome, but in yourself. And one day, when you look back, you'll see that the risks you took were not obstacles. They were stepping stones. Every uncertain moment, every difficult choice, every leap of faith brought you closer to who you were meant to be. The story of your life will not be one of comfort, but of courage, and that is what will make it worth telling. No risk, no story, but with risk what a story it can be, because every time you choose courage over comfort, you breathe new life into your destiny. Every time you take a step into uncertainty, you tell the world that your spirit is not meant to live in shadows. You declare that you were born for more than routine, more than repetition, more than the safety of the known. You were born to stretch the limits of what is possible, to explore the uncharted, to test the power of your own will. The story of your life is being written every single day, whether you realize it or not. Each choice you make, each risk you take or avoid, adds another line to that story. Some life stories so small they fit neatly into the expectations of others. But others, those who dare, live stories that can't be contained. Their stories roar across generations. They risk not because they are fearless, but because they have learned that fear is a signal, not a stop sign. They know that if something scares them, it matters. Fear, in its purest form, is not your enemy, it's your compass. It shows you where growth lies. It points toward the places where your potential is waiting. You can't eliminate fear, but you can learn to master it, to let it walk beside you instead of standing in front of you. The brave are not those without fear, they are those who act in spite of it. Risk transforms fear into fuel. It takes what once paralyzed you and turns it into motion. Every person who has achieved something extraordinary once stood at a crossroads between fear and action. Most turn back, some take the step forward. That single step, uncomfortable, uncertain, and bold, separates the dreamers from the doers, the talkers from the builders, the ordinary from the unforgettable. The difference between who you are and who you could become lies in that moment of decision. When you take a risk, the world does not immediately applaud you. Often it resists you, it doubts you, questions you, sometimes even mocks you. That's the price of standing apart from the crowd. The world is built to reward the predictable and to resist the disruptor. But understand this, the resistance you face is not a sign that you're wrong. It's a sign that you're moving. Every pushback means you're making an impact. Every doubt cast your way is proof that you're shaking something loose in the universe. The first few steps of risk always feel the hardest. The ground beneath you feels uncertain, the future unclear, but as you move forward, confidence begins to replace fear. You start to realize that the unknown is not something to be avoided, it's something to be explored. Risk stretches your mind, strengthens your heart, and sharpens your instincts. It transforms life from something you endure into something you create, and creation is what you were made for. You were not placed here merely to observe, to fit in, or to pass through unnoticed. You were placed here to shape, to build, to leave an imprint, and every act of risk is an act of creation. When you take that leap, you're not just creating a new path, you're creating a new you. Each risk chisels away the unnecessary and reveals something purer, stronger, more capable than you ever knew existed. There's a certain quiet power that grows inside those who risk. They develop a strength that can't be faked, a confidence that doesn't need to be spoken. Because they've faced the unknown and survived it. They've looked failure in the eye and realized it cannot define them. Risk teaches you that success isn't a guarantee, it's a reward earned through endurance. And endurance is something that can only be built by stepping into discomfort. Imagine a life where you never took risks. No failures, perhaps, but no victories either, no losses, but no lessons, no heartbreak, but no love, no pain, but no passion. That is not life, that is existence, and existence is too small for the spirit within you. To live is to risk is to grow, and to grow is to fulfill the purpose of your being. There will be moments when you risk everything and still fall short, when you pour your energy, your time, your faith into something that doesn't work. Those moments can feel like the end, but they are not endings. They are beginnings disguised as detours. The lessons learned from failure are richer than the comfort gained from safety. Failure carves wisdom into your soul. It strips away illusion and forces you to meet yourself honestly. It teaches you how to stand, how to adapt, and how to try again. The truth is, life doesn't reward the perfect, it rewards the persistent. The person who keeps taking risks long after the first, second, or 10th failure is the one who eventually finds the door that opens. The journey to mastery is paved with attempts that didn't work out, but every attempt moves you closer to the one that will. Risk ensures that you are always moving forward, even when progress feels invisible. Some people call risk reckless, but recklessness is moving without purpose. Risk is moving with faith. The difference is intention. When you risk with purpose, every action you take is aligned with something meaningful, something that matters deeply to you. And that meaning gives you strength to face whatever challenges come your way. The stronger your why, the easier it becomes to face the how. You will come to find that life expands in direct proportion to the risks you are willing to take. The greater your willingness to step into uncertainty, the larger your world becomes. Opportunities appear where before there were none. Doors open that you never knew existed. The right people begin to find their way into your path. This is not coincidence. It is the law of motion. Life moves toward those who move toward it. Risk is not a one-time act. It's a mindset, a daily choice. Every day, you are faced with small risks that seem insignificant. Speaking your truth, trying something new, admitting a mistake, showing vulnerability, saying yes when you're uncertain, or saying no when it's uncomfortable. These small acts of courage accumulate. They build momentum. Over time, they forge a spirit that can take on even the greatest of challenges. You are not supposed to have everything figured out before you begin. The path becomes clear only after you start walking. The first step is never about knowing, it's about trusting. You trust that life has a way of meeting those who move with intention. You trust that the risks you take will eventually connect to a purpose greater than you can see. You trust that even if you stumble, you will land where you are meant to be. The greatest risk of all is to look back and realize you never truly lived, that you played it safe, stayed in your lane, and silenced your dreams because you feared what could go wrong. But what if it could go right? What if that one risk, the one you keep putting off, could change everything? You'll never know until you try, and if you don't try, that question will follow you for the rest of your life. So take the risk, speak the idea, start the journey, trust your voice, believe in the fire within you even when no one else sees it, because that fire is your compass. It's what keeps you alive, and the more you feed it through risk, the brighter it burns. Every great adventure begins with uncertainty, and every great story begins with risk. Yours is still being written. The pen is in your hands, and the ink is courage. Don't waste another page writing what is safe and familiar. Write something bold, write something true, write something that scares you a little and excites you a lot. That's how legends are made, not through comfort but through conviction. No risk, no story, but with risk your story becomes timeless. Because risk is not just an act, it's a declaration that you refuse to live an unlived life, It's a statement to the universe that says, I am here to experience, to grow, to feel, to fail, to rise, and to become. The very essence of being alive is intertwined with the willingness to face the unknown. Every breath you take is a risk. Every dream you chase is a risk. Every love you give is a risk. And yet, it's these very risks that give your life depth, texture, and meaning. The truth that many never grasp is that risk is not separate from success. It is the soil from which success grows. People often see the final result, the triumph, the celebration, the applause, but they do not see the uncertainty that came before it. They don't see the sleepless nights, the self-doubt, the countless times the dream felt impossible. But those moments of uncertainty are what build greatness. Without the risk, the success would mean nothing. It's the danger of losing that gives victory its sweetness. There is a quiet courage in risk that few recognize. It's not loud or showy. It doesn't always come with confidence or clarity. Sometimes it's a trembling step forward when every part of you wants to turn back. Sometimes it's a whisper to yourself saying, try again. When your spirit feels tired, that's the true nature of courage. It's not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward in spite of it. When you begin to take risks, you discover that life starts to respond to you differently. Opportunities begin to unfold where before there were only obstacles. Paths begin to clear where before you saw only confusion. This is because risk is a signal. It tells life that you are ready. You're no longer waiting for circumstances to align. You're no longer waiting for the world's permission. You are choosing to act, and that choice alone shifts everything. You will notice that those who live extraordinary lives are not those who have avoided failure, but those who have embraced it as a teacher. Every risk comes with the possibility of falling short, but in that fall, you gain wisdom that safety could never provide. You learn resilience, patience, and humility. You learn what truly matters. You learn that strength is not something you're born with, it's something you build by taking chances. Each risk teaches you something about yourself. It shows you your limits and then it invites you to surpass them. It reveals the difference between who you think you are and who you can become, and over time those lessons shape you into someone who is no longer afraid of the unknown but curious about it. You begin to see that every risk is not a threat, it's an invitation to grow. The beautiful thing about risk is that it wakes up parts of your soul that would otherwise remain dormant. It brings your spirit to life. It sharpens your senses, focuses your energy, and ignites your purpose. Without risk, your days blend together. With it, each day becomes an adventure. Each sunrise carries a sense of anticipation because you know you're actively shaping your destiny, not merely drifting through it. The world often teaches you to seek safety, to build walls, to stay in line, to avoid mistakes. But walls keep more than danger out, they also keep life out. When you surround yourself with too much safety, you block out the very experiences that make life worth living. Growth cannot exist within walls. It needs open air, it needs challenge, it needs the risk of falling. That is where the magic happens, outside the comfort zone. There is a moment in every risk where you are suspended between who you were and who you are becoming. It's an uncomfortable space, full of tension and doubt, but that space is sacred. It's where transformation happens. You can't grow without leaving something behind. Risk requires you to release the familiar and step into the uncertain. But every time you do, you emerge more alive, more capable, more you. People often ask, what if I fail? But the better question is, what if you never try? What if you never discover what you're capable of? What if you never experience the pride of overcoming something you once thought impossible? Failure is temporary, but regret lasts forever. The pain of failure fades, the pain of never trying doesn't. And here's the truth. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of success. Every successful person you admire has failed more times than most people have tried. The difference is that they kept risking, kept believing, kept moving. They understood that success is not a single moment of triumph, it's a series of risks taken, lessons learned, and efforts repeated. Risk builds momentum. Each time you take one, you expand your capacity for more. You start small, but each leap makes the next one easier. Soon, you look back and realize how far you've come. The things that once terrified you now feel like natural steps on the path. This is how transformation happens, not in one grand moment, but in the consistent act of risking a little more each day. You might not realize it, but every risk you take sends a message to the world and to yourself. It says, I am alive, I am willing, I believe in something enough to chase it. That energy attracts new possibilities. Life rewards the bold not because it favors them, but because boldness creates movement. And movement, by its nature, attracts change. Risk teaches you to trust yourself. It forces you to rely on your inner compass rather than the opinions of others. You begin to understand that no one else can walk your path for you. No one else can take your risks or live your story. The moment you stop looking for validation and start seeking growth, you reclaim your power. You begin to live life on your own terms. It's in those moments of risk that you meet your truest self. Not the version shaped by expectations, not the one defined by fear, but the raw, unfiltered essence of who you are. You realize that you're capable of enduring more than you imagined, that you can bend without breaking, that you can fall and still rise with even greater strength, that you can face uncertainty and still move forward with faith. And when you do, something incredible happens. You begin to inspire others. Your courage becomes a spark for someone else's flame. Your risk becomes someone else's permission. You show them that it's possible to live boldly, to dream freely, to fail fearlessly. That is how one person's bravery ripples across the world. It starts with one risk, one decision, one step. Every great legacy is born from risk. The artists who changed culture, the leaders who shifted nations, the inventors who reshaped history, all of them took chances. They were told they were foolish, that their dreams were too big, that their ideas wouldn't work. But they risked anyway, and because they did, the world became richer, brighter, and better. You have that same power within you, the power to create something new, to change the direction of your life, to impact others in ways you may never even see. All it takes is one moment of courage, a willingness to risk, to say yes when fear says no, to move when doubt says wait, to trust when logic says it's impossible. That single act can shift everything. Risk is the heartbeat of purpose. It's what separates a life remembered from a life forgotten. The more you risk in the direction of your dreams, the more alive you become, because risk demands everything you are, and in giving everything, you discover how much you have to give. So take the risk. The world may not understand at first. They may doubt you, criticize you, even laugh. But that's because they cannot see what you see. They cannot feel what you feel. Your vision was given to you for a reason. It's yours to bring to life. And that life will never unfold through safety. It will unfold through risk. Because in the end, every story that ever mattered, every legacy that ever lasted, every soul that ever inspired, began the same way, with someone willing to take a chance.